Yay, there we go. All right, we are live. Sorry for that awkward little introduction. I couldn't tell. Thank you to the 20 plus people who were waiting for this moment. It has arrived. 20 plus people. I hope we will reach a little bit more than that, but for those of you who are loyal enough to start from the very beginning, thank you very much. My name is Kyle Meyr. Let's go full. I'm going to show you my full face. There you go. My face taking over your device, your phone, your computer, whatever. Hello, my name is Kyle Meyr. If you don't know who I am a Norwegian-American photographer based in Oslo, Norway. I shoot with Sony. I am a Sony ambassador. I just realized I had the sound on my stream. Very annoying. I am a Sony ambassador. I am shooting with a wide range of Sony lenses. I'll show you some of my favorites today. We'll go through the cameras that I use and some of the techniques that I use. And we'll talk about some very specific photos. Some kind of difficult to explain, so I'm going to show you how to Photoshop and what I did to sort of make them perfect. And some that are a little bit more straightforward and simple. Either way, we're going to have a good time. If you're here to see some photography tips, hopefully you'll take something away from this and learn. If you're just here to hang out, some background noise, I'm happy you're here. Hopefully my voice doesn't put you to sleep immediately. We got Dennis Johansson in the chat. Dennis is a Sony god. When it comes to Sony cameras, that man knows everything. So if you have any tech questions, send him a message in the chat and he will be responding. I will also be in the chat. I am reading everything. Dennis says, let's go already. You know what? I'm with you, Dennis. Let's make this happen. So I am going to run you guys through some of the photos. And let's take a look and see where we're at. First, I got to switch to show you my screen. And then let's see. So we're going to start, I think, with a simple one. This one, I don't think it's too difficult. This is my homie Kai Zackerson. He's an awesome skier. And if you're Swedish and a skier, you might know who he is. Dennis. Hi, everybody. I assume he says ask a lot of questions. Swedish isn't my first language, nor is it any of my languages. So I'm going to take your word for it, Dennis. Kai is a killer on skis and actually works with a local ski resort called Solheisen, based up near Hemsedal. It is actually the hidden gem of that area. And I got a chance last week to go up there and shoot tons. And we still happen to find powder. I was super happy. We got a lot of really badass photos. This is one of them. Here I'm going to be editing another one today. This is another one. A little bit dark. Going to be interesting to show how we deal with that, how we sort of save some of it, and the values of the Sony cameras when it comes to saving lost information in the snow or overblown. Next one we're going to edit is pretty complicated. I warn you, but it's a Porsche Panamera Turbo S. This is the first photo, and we're going to be combining at least 5 or 6 of these. It looks like more than that, maybe 10, actually. That's a lot of photos. I'm going to show you how to stack all these photos, how to bring all these lights into one photo, and take one awesome photo out of 10 of them. It was rad. It was an awesome night, and the final product, I hope and assume, is going to be badass. I've edited it before, and I was super proud. So maybe this time it'll be even better because I have practice, and I have an audience. Ladies and gentlemen, 33 people watching now. Thank you, all 33 of you, for joining. If you weren't here in the very beginning, my name is Kyle Meyr. I am a Sony Alpha ambassador. I take a lot of photos. I work with Sony very closely, and I shoot on a wide array of Sony lenses. I'll introduce you to some of my favorites. Look, here's one. Here's one now. This is my 50 1.4, the Zeiss. This thing's badass. It's awesome. This is a do-it-all lens. I will show you some of the photos that I've shot with this a little bit later, and I'll show you what it takes to edit them. Frederick throws up a clap in the chat. Thank you, Frederick. I see you, man. I appreciate that. Thank you for joining. Another photo, if we have time. These take quite a long time to edit, so we'll see. Is this photo? We're going to combine this, where the car is lit up, with a little bit of light on the front of the car and a whole lot of background light with some stars. I'm just going to turn my phone on silent, just because I'm a super rude person, didn't do that in the beginning. Sebastian, Kyle and Dennis, great guys, great photographers. Best of luck with the YouTube Live. Sebastian, thank you very much. My dude, happy to see you in there. You're the man. You're the man, and I'm happy you dropped by. I hope you stick around, man. So those are the photos I'm going to be editing. If we have time, there's one more. This one's pretty badass, right? I'm going to combine this with this, and we'll make a panorama. I'll show you how to get a vertical photo with as much information as possible by stacking multiple photos. So without further ado, what do you say we get into it? Let's start by editing this one. This, once again, is my homie, Kai Zackerson. For this photo, I used Sony's 70-200 G Master f2.8 lens. This thing, actually, a specific one right here. It is a monster. It is huge. I'm going to take you to full frame or full screen so I can show you what's going on here. Look at this. Huge. Nobody's not impressed when I pull this out of the bag. I promise you. People love it. It's sick. It's badass. So, without further ado, let's get into some editing. Here we go. First things first, when we're in Lightroom, I use Lightroom, by the way, Lightroom and Photoshop. I'm an Adobe, I wouldn't say Adobe nerd. I'm loyal to Adobe. We're going to enable profile corrections. Every lens innately has some sort of quirks that make the lens unique. And sometimes you just don't want that. Sometimes you just want to flatten it out and start from zero. Because we have a lot of power in the Adobe system that we can add these things later, things like distortion or vignetting. But I mean, when you look at it before and after, there isn't really that much vignetting or distortion. So we're going to move on. We're going now. I want this photo to be warm. I really think it should emphasize the whole sunset vibe. I think we should start with the temperature, bring it down or up, I guess, somewhere around here. But I'm not a huge, oh, I accidentally pressed F. We were going full frame for a second. Sorry, guys, full screen. It's photographer lingo. It blurs into each other. I'm not a huge fan of having it just warm. I kind of want to tint it a little bit more towards the magenta side just to sort of make it feel a little bit more, you know, fantastic. And if you're new to my streams, I stream now and then. I like keeping the numbers even or round, or it's just a weird, I don't know. So let's go with 5900. Look at that, huh? How about that? Makes no difference. Let's bring this down to 20 and let's call it good there. I think we've got a pretty good level of warmth there, pretty good vibe to the photo. Now we can go into some editing. So it's pretty dark in the shadows. One thing I'm going to want to do is brighten up the shadows. And to do that, I'm going to start by adding some exposure to the photo. And now we're starting to see quite a lot more detail. I'm going to bring the shadows up a bit. Just a little bit at a time. You don't want to overdo it. If you're really curious, you just sort of emphasize the movement and then go back and find somewhere in between. But I think that makes you a little too comfortable with some of the more emphasized moments. The goal here is to not overdo it. We want it to still feel kind of natural and believable, but we want it to be action-packed. So I'm going to bring down some of the highlights because I think they're hitting a little too hard in the snow. And then maybe I'm going to add some clarity to make it pop just a bit. Not too much, just a bit. Let's go with 20. This one should be 30, just because we like even numbers. We're all about even numbers here. Dehaze. Dehaze is a really good option if you want something to have a bit more contrast, but you don't really want to play too much with the contrast slider. If you see what happens with the contrast slider, it just brings all the shadows down a little bit too harshly. So dehaze is a good option to do that without losing a lot of details in the shadows. It just sort of gives it more punch. Just a little bit. So I think I'm okay with where the light is. It's a good habit to hit that before and after button and just sort of remind yourself of how far you've gone. Maybe you've gone too far. Maybe you haven't gone far enough. There's always a little bit of purple in skies. You know what? I'm going to get rid of this music. And the music served its purpose, right? There's always a little bit of purple in blue skies. And I'm not a huge fan of that. I'm a big fan of clean blue. So you see the difference when I slide the hue slider back and forth on the purple? So what I'm going to do is leave that all the way down to blue. I want blue skies. I want it to be clear. I want it to be believable, right? So we'll go there. And I even want it to be a bit less warm. Or a bit more warm? A bit less of something. So I'm going to push this slider down to, let's go -5. We'll keep it at a simple number. And then maybe darken it a bit so you get more focus on the skier. Because what it does is it darkens the sky more than it does the snow. So I'm just going to bring it down to maybe 15, 20. Ooh, 20 is brave. Turn this on and off. Tommy, drop the clap in the chat. Thank you, Tommy. Happy to have you here, man. If you have any questions, once again, if any of you have any questions, please hit us up in the chat. I'm reading it. Dennis is reading it. Dennis, once again, is a Sony master of the Sony collection. He knows his stuff. So we're going to leave that down there. Pretty happy with where this is going. Pretty stoked. I do want a bit more of a gradient in the sky. I think it's a little too similar here and here. I want to kind of give the vibe of direction to the sunlight. So what I'm going to do is add a darker gradient up in the sky. Just a little bit. Just going to drop the exposure to maybe -1. And then bring it in at an angle. Right about there. See, now what that does is it affects a little bit too much of the skier in the snow because I don't want Kai, the skier, to be dark. I want him to light up, so I'm going to erase it. You go into brush, you go into erase, and then you just sort of go over it. Have a good time. I got a little bit of lag in the computer. I'm running a lot of programs right now, as you can imagine. But hey, we're here to push it. We're here to push it. So, just so I don't have to do all the work, drop some lines in the chat. Tell me about your day. Tell me about how your life's going. I'm just going to be here editing on the side. I'll tell you a bit more about the photos as I edit. This photo, for example, was taken at Solheisen in Grundalen near Hemsedal in Norway. And it was super sunny and super pretty the whole day. So we'll go back to before. That's what it was raw. That's what it is now. We're close. I'm going to add a bit more direction to the sunlight by taking this radial filter. Going up maybe right about to here. And then let's drop a big old radial filter there and just sort of have him ski into the sun. Look at that, huh? Pretty cool. But I don't like that it's completely flat, so let's point it up towards the sky. And once again, let's see what it looks like when we brush it out of the snow underneath him. Because I think it should just affect the sky. Let's do that. There we go. Now we're talking. Ladies and gentlemen, now we're talking. What do you think? What do you think? What should I do next? Where should I go with this photo? Let me know in the chat. One thing I will do is bring out some detail on him a little bit. Little fun fact about this photo. This is probably the hardest one we took all week. It seems like such a simple shot, but me being an idiot, I missed the focus, so I had to make him hike up. He was not super happy about that. Kai had to hike up. Lisen, who was also there, another Solomon ambassador who I was shooting with, also hiked up out of solidarity with him. Super nice people. And hey, it was worth it. We got the shot in the end, huh? We got the shot, and I get to show you guys. So, without doing too much more, let's leave it at that. I mean, it's pretty simple, pretty clean, right? Let's go back and see the photo before and after. Let's turn up some little reward music. Yeah, there we go. We deserve that. We deserve some of this. So, before and after. Go full frame so we can take, or full screen so we can take a better look at it. I'm going to get some water in the meantime. There we go. What do you think of that, huh? That's pretty cool. That's a good start. I'm pretty happy with that. That's a very good start. So let's leave that there and let's move on to the next. What do you guys think of doing something a little more complicated? Let's get into some skills. What if I showed you guys how to stack these photos into one super awesome mega photo? The mega photo is key. So let's start with this one. What we did is I have these tubes of light. They're about 4 feet long. They're LEDs all the way through. This was more of a proof of concept than anything. This was never meant to be like the final shot or super epic, get famous photo. This was meant to be, I want to see if I can do this so I can go back and do it even better the second time. So I borrowed this car from Porsche Center, Oscar and Bottom. We took these lights, me and my filmer friend. His name is Mats. He's the bomb. We set up the lights, 4 of them right here. The 5th one wasn't working for some reason, but hey, is what it is. No grudges. And then we shot a photo with them here. We moved them up equal distance in front of the car. Shot them here. and then moved them up again and shot them here. And then again and again and again, all the way until the lights, disappeared out of the photo. So they lit up the road. I thought it was pretty cool. So one thing we're going to do is start by getting rid of the imperfections in the lens. As always, just sort of correct it so we get a like really what's the word I'm looking for? You get a really like constant quality to the lens, to the photo. So I'm just going to do it to all of them. I'm really lazy, so I just go one by one. You can do this as like a batch edit, but you know what? I'm just not about it. I'm just feeling this this longer method today. My computer is so slow right now. You guys have no idea what you're doing to this thing. In the meantime, drop some questions in the chat. Tell me about your day. What do you like to shoot? You know what? I want to hear what you guys are shooting. Tell me, what kind of cameras are you guys using? What kind of subjects are you shooting? When was your last shoot? Anybody else shooting cars or skiing or adventure? Give me some feedback. Let's hear. Let's hear about your day. I'm here for the conversation. I'm not here for the monologue. Anthony, did you expose for the LEDs on every shot? Anthony, I kept it the same on every shot, I'm fairly certain. Since this was more of like a tech demo, if you will, what I did is picked one exposure. This shot for the stars, I knew I was going to add later. So I changed it up for this one. I did 20 seconds. But for the other ones, I kept it at 10 seconds, I believe. Yeah, 10 seconds at 5.6 because I wanted a lot of depth in the photo. I shot this on the Sony 16-35 f2.8 G Master. I want to call it Grandmaster because that's such a cool name. What if they were called Grandmasters? Yeah, so I wanted it to be a wide photo. I wanted it to have a lot of context, and I wanted to show just that kind of ability to do these things. So one thing we're going to have to do is open these all up in Photoshop. Yay, we'll even do this one. So you highlight all the ones you want to open up in Photoshop from Lightroom, left click them, go to edit in, and then open as layers in Photoshop. Open as layers. And then we click that, and now we wait for however long it takes for my Photoshop to step up. Who knows how long that might take. For the next 2 seconds, I'm going to answer some people in the chat. Mr. Diego Suarez. Okay, Diego, your name is far cooler than anybody else's name in here. I'm going to give you that. If anybody else has a cooler name, drop a line. I dare you to challenge Diego. Come for his crown. Diego says, I am using the A7R II and shoot landscapes and animals mainly. Looking to upgrade my Sigma 100-400 to the Sony 200-600. Woohoo! What an upgrade. You're going to love that 200-600. That thing's a monster. Really looking forward to going out in the woods more. Yeah, you know what? That 600 is going to get you so much more than what 400 could get you. I mean, this alone is 200 millimeters, right? Imagine just duct taping this onto the end of your 400. You're going to get a lot more out of that. That's going to be fun. Sorry, I just got a text from the producer, if you will. It says, take your time. So you know what? We're going to take our time. Take 2 hours if you need. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a blank check is what we call that. So I'm going to take my time. I'm just happy you guys are here. I just want to hang out with everybody. This is a good time. Diego, man, you're going to get so much out of that 200-600. I'm really excited to see the photos you get, man. Just to let you guys know, we are still loading this computer. We can do it. Come on, computer. I believe in you. I'm editing on a MacBook Pro 16-inch with a LG ultrafine 5K 27-inch monitor. It's pretty happy with the setup. I love it, but the moment you start running OBS and have YouTube files open and Photoshop and Lightroom, it starts to get a little bit slow. Is what it is. DJ, oh my God. DJEF Vullen. Oh my God. You're going to have to tell me how to pronounce that. Have you got the chance to test the Sony Alpha 1 yet? I have not, but you know what? It is coming, sir. It is coming. Sir or ma'am. How do you pronounce your name? Jeff Fulton? If that's your actual name, that's pretty badass. That's super complicated. my thoughts on the camera are I'm getting it immediately. I want that thing. It's so rad. It's so rad. Okay, so here we go. We have all the photos here lined up down here. If you can't tell, I'll shake the mouse. And what we have to start doing now is combining the light parts of each of these photos. And the way we're going to do that is not super difficult. It's just to click the top one and to expose the light parts from the layer underneath, you're going to click lighten. And there, just like that, now we have 8 lights where we had 4 before. So now, since these 2 are lightened, we'll lighten onto the next one. And then the next one. And then you just do this for all the photos. Pretty simple, huh? That wasn't so complicated. One of the things we're looking for in this is not only that the lights are turning on down the road, but you look at the trees. The trees are starting to light up. And what that's doing is that's going to give more context to the photo, right? It's not just a black photo with a car. Suddenly it's a car in the woods. And you have a story almost. And that's something we really want to get out of the photo. So we just keep going down the line. Lighten. We go to the next one. Lighten. I'm sure you could like highlight all of them and just do it at once, but I'm not a very smart human, so I'm going to stick to the tried and true method of clicking all of them at once. If you ever get confused as to which layer is which, you can just turn it off. Click the little eye, it will hide it, turn it invisible, and then you can see which ones are actually affected. So, for example, if I wanted to know these 2 right here, I just go through and click until I find them. And there we go. It's that easy. So now we have all these. Now there's one more thing we need to do, and that's to include the starry photo that we have. And you can either move it to the top and lighten it, or you can just lighten the photo on top. There we go. So now we have the stars in the photo. It's a little bit of trickery. A little bit of line. But it's not quite a composite because we shot all the same photos, all the photos from the same spot. So technically they are composited together, but when you think about it, that's what it really looked like. And that's what it was. So one of the problems we're getting now is that since this photo is so much colder, the photo of the of space, if you will, the stars, since it's so much colder, we're starting to get some weird colors here in the in the bottom. So what we're gonna have to do is mask this photo out. We'll add a layer mask, and the most effective way of doing this, at least in the beginning, is to take a what is this called? Graduated fill, linear gradient. And just sort of put it here. Get rid of all the bottom of the photo. There we go. So now it's all out. Now we can go to the brush and go into the trees and just go step by step and just get rid of it. One thing we're also going to have trouble with is that there are stars now in some of the dark places of the photos where there shouldn't be. Actually, you know what? No, because I didn't move the camera. So there won't be. Oops. That was a little bit too far. There we go. Look. Oh, also a little too far. If you feel like you go too far, you can hit X, turn this this brush back to white, and what that's going to do is it's going to bring it back. So, for example, if you're just goofing around like this, oops, you can either undo, or if you end up goofing around too much and you don't know where to undo and you have to go so far back in time to undo all of it, hit X, get that white brush out and just paint it back in. No problem. Don't stress. There's always a solution. So there we go. Now we got a super complicated photo made from a bunch of really simple photos. So Command S, we'll save that because we're pretty happy with what it looks like so far. Going back to the chat. How you guys doing? I am in the chat. If you have any technical questions, Dennis is also in the chat. And if you'll look outside your window, for those of you in Oslo, it is snowing. That is called snow. How about that? Shout out to everybody going skiing later. I will see you up there. Anthony says, MacBook Pro and it's suffering that much. Damn. Yeah, you know what, Anthony? This is what happens when you use your equipment. It's also what happens when you don't turn off your equipment for weeks. So it's not so much as use as it is abuse. It's also not a Mac Pro. It's a MacBook Pro. There's a pretty big difference. Pretty big difference. Price-wise and performance-wise, I think. I hope. Oh, the soothing jazz, the soothing lo-fi beats in the background are making this wait time almost tolerable. So we've hit Command S, and that's going to save it right back in to Lightroom. So now here we are, out of all these little photos, all these little guys combined right here, we have managed to make this big boy photo. Yes, look at that. Now these are all raw, right? We haven't changed anything. It's saved it in TIFF. That's what Photoshop does, which means we still have a lot of detail to play with. So we can start color correcting. And with that, I think there's a lot of detail in the trees that I want to save. So I'm going to bump the shadows. I could bump the exposure, but you're going to end up overexposing everything here in the snow because these lights are super bright. So we'll just do the shadows, maybe bring down the highlights even. Try to throw a little radial filter on the, or radial gradient or whatever, on the car itself. And with that, we'll try to just bring out the shadows. What I should have done if I was really going for it, and I really wanted to go for it with this photo, but it was about like 1 or 3 in the morning. I forget. Because I had gotten the car maybe gotten the car stuck for an hour before we shot this photo. And we wasted a lot of time trying to get it out. So I didn't have too much patience left to set up lights above the car to get the car perfectly lit. Otherwise, I would have set up a light right here, pointed it straight down, basically, just to get some light on the upper shelves, the shoulders, the ski box, all that. But for now, whatever. We're happy with this. Dennis says, in Sweden, we have a super sunny day. Oh, man, I'm sorry. You can borrow some of our snow, though. It's going to rain soon, so there you go. It happens. Anthony says, whereabouts in Sweden do you live, Dennis? Miserably gray and GBG. Gothenburg. I figured it out. I'm a genius. That sucks, man. I'm sorry to hear. It's going to start raining here in Oslo soon anyway, so it is what it is. I don't like that there's so much definition in the lights. One thing that helps stars stick out a lot is definition. So if you add a gradient with some definition, some sharpening, that also helps stars. And maybe some dehaze just to get some punch in there. You add it to the stars and suddenly you get a bit more pop in the stars. You also end up including the trees. So if you want to and you're really anal about it, you can go in and brush out the trees. Just brush them back. Erase. You hit brush. You hit erase. You just go to town. Go to town. Bring them back. Come on back now, y'all. 2 hops this time. Who remembers that song? Who here grew up to that song? Why was that even a song? I don't like that there's so much definition in the lights, so I'm going to blur it up a bit. You know what? Maybe I'm going to blur it with a... no, you know what? That's too much. I'm going to blur the whole thing. Let's do that. Just a little bit. Let's add a... no, we'll do that later. You know what? I'm okay with how that looks. I think that's fine. We can play with the reds to try to bring back the taillights, but since I left it on 10-second exposure, they're long gone. You would do like one separate palettes or whatever you call it, layer. You would shoot one separate photo with just the perfect exposure for the taillights if you really, really wanted to get it perfect. Dennis, it snowed this morning. Woohoo! It snowed and then now it's sunny. Oh, you got the best of both worlds. Now, if only you had a ski mountain near Stockholm, you'd be living it. So I'm pretty happy with that. I'm going to show you a little quick color correction tip. Now that we're happy with this, let's hit, well, first of all, let's close this so it stops slowing down our computer. And let's hit Command E on this photo and open it up again in Photoshop. We'll edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments. If you want to go back and change some things on the photo, you can hit Open Original, and it'll open it with all the layers back in, and you can go back and change whatever you want. But I want to edit a copy with Lightroom adjustments because I want to keep going and adding onto the color correction. Ooh, running out of water. Talking too much. You guys got to do some talking for me. This is a conversation, huh? It's not one way. Anybody else have this problem? Where it just opens up in like a random corner of the desktop? But sometimes if you go back and forth, it'll go back. Sometimes. So I have saved here a bunch of colors that I think are pretty cool. I got dope ass brown, sunburst yellow, midnight green, and blue steel. Ooh, that's a cool one. So we'll go with blue steel. You just pick it up like a paintbrush, right? And I'm just going to paint the entire photo on a new layer this color. Boom. Look at that. And now we're going to soft light blend it. And that's going to give it a much darker and moodier vibe. It's going to blue the photo in a more rich way than I think you can do in Lightroom. 30%, something like that. Just a little bit, not too much. Anthony says, do you usually edit your night sky stars in Lightroom, or do you use panels more suited in Photoshop? What? I think me not understanding that question is kind of answering your question. I do most of my star editing in Lightroom. I'm not too heavy-handed on the editing. I don't like to spend too much time on editing. I don't like to focus more than I need to on it. I'm more of like a run and gun style photo dude. So what am I missing out on the star editing in suites in Photoshop? Or what am I reading here? Do you use EG panels more suites and suited? Oh my God. You know what? I'm an idiot. Anthony, I'm an idiot. I'm sorry, dude. Yeah, what am I missing out on? What am I missing out on? Tell me. Why should I switch? Why should I stop using Lightroom? I'm trying to learn, man, as much as everybody else here. I need to get better at this. But for now, I'm happy with this. I think this is okay. So, cool colors. You can also do like kind of creative things where you just sort of take some lighter blues and add some, I don't know, like mist to the photo. Just do this kind of stuff. And that's maybe like more Instagram worthy, where you bring it down, screen blend it, and then mask it out over the car so the car pops more. But this stuff is, I think, a little bit too gimmicky for what I want. I'm not a huge fan of adding too much. So we'll stay away, and we will continue with this. So Command S, we're going right back to Lightroom. Just where we came from. Woo, super complicated photo. Takes far too long for a man as impatient as me. But let's keep going. So we are 97% saved. Come on, you can do it. There we go. I knew I could believe in you, Photoshop. These photos were shot, by the way, on the A7R III. I'm a big fan of that camera. I think it's very nice, very fancy. I think it does everything I need it to do, but I am looking forward to upgrading to the A1. I really, really am. I really love that camera. So now that we're back here, I want to push a little bit of focus towards the car, so I'm just going to add some vignetting right around here. Save the highlights, feather it quite a bit, push it in towards the middle so it's less obvious. Just right about here, so before and after. And then that looks pretty good. There's more we can do. For example, one thing I can do is go back into Photoshop, add a new layer, take the red from the brake light, and then just sort of brush it in on top. You can brush here, hold shift, and then just go right across. Do the same to here, and here. And then, once you've got this separate layer where you've painted over the taillights, you can hard light blend it, and that will bring your taillight back in. Just sort of mix it in so it looks a little bit more natural. Let's go to 75. Something like that. We can also do it for these. You just sort of paint to your heart's desire, huh? Just get in here, paint it up. Look at that. Very fancy. And now we have taillights. You know what? Let's just do the whole thing. Whatever. We're here. You guys came here to hang out, so let's hang out. Let's get into it, huh? Speaking of hanging out, this is a conversation. May I remind you, this is not just me talking at you. You are here to learn as much as I am here to learn, as much as I want to learn. I want to hear Anthony's star editing solution. It looks a little fake, but you spend some time with it, you can get it right. I'll leave it without. Whatever. We tried. Hey, you gotta try. But yeah, there you go. Final photo. I gotta give it a star. Hey, how about that? So let's give this one a star too. There we go. Woo! We're doing it. 2 photos in. It is hot in here. I know you guys can't feel it, but it's hot, so I'm gonna have to take off the sweater. I'm gonna leave you some music for a second while I take this sweater off. Oof, I'm dying. Everybody talk amongst yourselves. Oops. I accidentally pressed the button. Woo. Okay. Oh, guess who's back? Ladies and gentlemen, guess who's back? I'm going full screen. Look at the hair. Look at the hair in all of its glory, huh? How about that? That took me years. And it's been a pain in the ass every single second of it. Oh my God, let me get these headphones on so I can hear what's going on. What's going on? I'm going to take the second right in between editing photos and just talk with you guys, man. Let's see what's going on. Lucas says, hi, Kyle. Hey, Lucas. How you doing, man? Stoked to see you here. Stoked to see you in the stream. I'm happy you've arrived. Ladies and gentlemen, if you are arriving late, my name is Kyle Meyr. I am a photographer. I shoot a lot of cars. I shoot a lot of adventure. For example, this ski photo, that's pretty adventurous, huh? Pretty action-packed. I shoot with Sony. I shoot on an array of Sony lenses. Here's my 7200 f2.8 GM G Master. Pretty boss camera or lens. Here's my 50 f1.2. In my bag, I also tend to carry around a 16 to 20 or 16 to 35 f2.8. It is actually on the camera right now filming this. You can tell because of the zoom. Whoa. Whoa. Did I leave it on? Yeah, okay, that's fine. Yeah, fun stuff. I also use a 24 f1.4 when I need it. I'll show you, you know what, the next photo, I'll show you some of that. We'll go through some more star stuff. And yeah, you know what? Let's get right back into it. I think that's enough. Just want to remind you guys, this is a conversation. I am here to chat as much as you guys should be here to chat. So get in the chat and let's hear about your day. Let's go to this one. Let's do this photo, huh? What do you think about that? Pretty nice, pretty fancy, whole lot of stars. This was actually shot on a photo shoot for a tent company named Hellsport. We wanted the tent to have a lot of frost on it in the morning light. So we took it up at night, set it up, and let it sit. And then when we got there in the morning, it had a ton of frost. It was beautiful. But while we were on the way to set it up, I took a second to shoot this photo. And I'm going to show you how to combine this photo with this photo to make a square photo of bigger proportions than what you could have shot with the same lens. So this is a 24 millimeter f1.4. It's a boss lens. You could shoot this handheld if you wanted. I opted for the tripod with a 13-second exposure. Diego asks the age-old question. He asks, how do you become a Sony ambassador? Like, how did you start, and how did you end up where you are? Also, thank you for a great live section. You know what? Let's go back to the full frame. I want to talk about this real quick because I never have a good answer for this, and I never will. But I will explain it real quick. Lars, also in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. Lars, the man, the myth, the legend, is here. He is a champion. I'm happy to see him here. Thank you for joining us, Lars. So, Diego, I've been a Sony ambassador for a handful of years now. It took me a handful of years to get there. I used to shoot on what was known as the DSLT cameras with the semi-translucent mirror. So the mirror didn't have to fold up. It was new technology. It was awesome. And what it meant is that Sony cameras were faster. They were DSLRs, right? They had a reflector, a mirror, and the mirror let light through it so it could get to the sensor, and that made it faster, which was awesome. So I bought it, got super excited about that, started shooting more action stuff. I skied a lot at the time, so I brought it with me skiing. And then I realized eventually that I'm like one of the only people in Norway who's shooting action photography with a Sony camera. Maybe one of the only people shooting with a Sony camera in Norway. There aren't that many. So I approached Sony and said, hey, this is what I do. This is how I do it. And they're like, hey, good for you. Get the fuck out of our office. And I kept begging them over the next like year and a half. I think it took like 2 years or something. I kept going back to the door saying, hey, I'm coming in for lunch on Monday. I love every time I'm going to have a meeting with somebody, I insist that it's Monday at noon. Monday at noon works perfectly for everybody. So I go in Monday at noon, say, hey, here's some new photos I shot with a camera. It's going to be sick. Then Sony announced the A99 II, which was their flagship camera at the time. It was semi-translucent, so I had the mirror, but the mirror didn't have to flip up. The light came through to hit the viewfinder. It was awesome. Super fast, super badass camera. The second that camera came out, I called the guy I knew at Sony. It took me a while, first of all, to find him because it's not easy. And I said, I need that camera. And that's sort of when the ball started rolling. Then everything started going from there. That isn't the answer though. Like, I don't think there's no answer. When you want to get in with a brand, it's kind of the same as like selling yourself with any brand, right? If you're offering your services to a company, you just go until a company realizes what you have to give them. And if you don't have enough to give them, you ask what the company wants to see from you. So one of the things I felt like I offered them was, I don't know, more hand movements when I talked. More hand movements than any other photographer in Scandinavia. That's what I've got going for me. So that's pretty much it. There's no answer. I wish I had an answer. That's how I did it, but there's no objective. Just keep shooting. Make sure you keep sharing it and keep getting better. Shoot to get better. Don't shoot because it will get you anywhere. Shoot because you enjoy it, because you want to get better, and shoot constantly. DJ, oh my God, you're going to have to tell me how to pronounce your name, man. I still don't get it. I still don't know it. Jeff, that's pretty close. We're going to stick with that. Said, what light did you use? I assume you were talking about this photo, which we are now going to edit. Hey, enough of me. Let's edit a photo. This was shot with no light in particular. This was a headlamp. She just had a really weak headlamp on, and when you expose for 13 seconds, it doesn't blow out too much. Just call me D. Is that something you tell women? Man, that's that's a pretty cool guy thing to say. I feel like I feel privileged. So I will. You know what? D. What up, D? Big D in the chat. Oh, the devil, old Swedish. That's pretty cool. That's a cool name. So yeah, she was just standing there. This is Ida. And I set up the camera on a tripod. This photo only took us maybe like 30 seconds, something like that, to shoot. Didn't take long at all. Let's get into some editing. So once again, since it is shot at f1.4, there's going to be a little bit of imperfection in the lens. That's just how it works. So we're going to enable corrections, fix some of the distortion, the vignetting, because we're going to want to add that ourselves later on. Let's do it with a second one as well, just so we balance the whole photo out. And this is a good place to start. I'm going to take a drink. It's like a poorly timed ad for Pepsi. Pepsi, if you want to pay me, go for it. That'd be awesome. So now let's see if we can save some of the shadows, because it's a very dark photo. One thing we're going to do is bump up the exposure, but when we do that, look at the headlight. It's going to start to overexpose a lot of stuff around it. So we're going to bump that up to 70. Maybe the shadows up a little bit. We're going to just assume, because every photo has its purpose, right? We're just going to assume that this photo is being used on social media. On social media, nobody cares too much about how far you push the photo and if there's too much grain. It's not super grainy. The photo was shot at 1250 ISO. That's not terrible. You still get a lot of detail out of the photo for that. You got to start zooming in pretty far before you start to see the grain. Here you notice it a bit in the darkest areas of the photo, but on Instagram or social media, you're not going to notice it at all. Whatever editing we do on this, we're going to copy paste to the next one just to keep it uniform. And for now, we're not going to do too much because I want to keep the photo kind of stock for when we stitch them together. Actually, you know what we're going to do? Let's go back. Let's go back. I'm going to show you guys this before we really get into it. I'm going to leave the lens correction, profile correction. We highlight both the photos. So here's the trick. This photo, I wanted it to be wider, right? A 24 I didn't think was wide enough to show all the stars that I wanted. I wanted it to be almost a vertical photo. So I shot two. I shot one lower and one higher. Now what we're going to do is highlight both and stitch them together. You right click, photo merge, panorama. It's as easy as this. It should pick the smartest way to combine them for you, the projection, if you will. Cylindrical looks pretty eventful. We can try perspective. Let's just see what it looks like in the preview. That looks even better. Perspective is built to correct the way that when you look up, you sort of get more context in the photo. So what it does is it corrects that and squeezes everything back in. And in doing that, sometimes you get some weird warps and distortion, but this time it looks pretty promising. So merge. And you'll see how lucky we were here in 1 second that the Milky Way was going straight through the photo down to the mountain behind it. Pretty badass. Anthony, to answer you regarding panels, I suppose it depends on what you want to get out of it. Panels being pretty much the same as just grading actions in Photoshop. Albeit rather handy having a ... Ooh, the suspense. The suspense. What is Anthony going to write next? What's he going to write next? You see, if the answer to why I should do something in Photoshop is that it's similar to Lightroom, then I'm just going to stick with Lightroom because I'm a lazy person. So, one-click solution, for example, creating different luminosity masks. Okay. Yeah, I get that it simplifies it, but when you understand the system that you've been working on for so many years so well, it's hard to sort of change to a simpler plan. I wish I could. I just don't have the patience. I just want to take photos. That's all I want to do. And in that, I'm pretty lazy. So now that we've combined the photos, we have a square photo, more or less. You see here what they did, right? They took the two photos, combined it, and since it was pointed up, you get a lot more context at the top. And for that, they had to auto crop out the useless parts. So we can go 1-to-1 and just decide right here now that it's for Instagram. 1-to-1 is kind of a cool way to shoot. So now we can start adding the stuff that we were adding before. We can add, oh my God, sorry. Pepsi was a bad idea on this stream. We can add some more exposure into the photo. The ... dude having 200 character cap. Oh man, more characters. Come on, YouTube, get your shit together. So I'm trying not to say it too loud because they'll hear me. We want to save some of the details. I think right about there is pretty good. Now, what we learned in the last one, you know what? The blues are a little too strong, so I'm just going to bring the blues down again. Let's go to here. Oof, the computer is really angry now. Oh, no. Oh, no, we might have really broken it. You guys witnessing the death of my computer.